Hi there, here is Christina from Changing Parenting, and today I want to talk about punishments and why they don't work. Why people think they work, but they actually don't. So let's address the elephant in the room. People think they work because in the moment, if you are successful in getting your child to be scared of you, your child will stop the behavior. So short term, it looks like it's working. It will stop the behavior in the short term, as long as your child is scared of you. So you do need to be consistent in making sure your child is scared of you all the time by punishing them, and being, very authoritarian. And perhaps that's not the type of parent you want to be, right? Perhaps that's not the type of relationship you want to have with your child, that your child is scared of you. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be watching this video. But anyway, studies show that punishment doesn't teach children what to do instead. So they are, research shows that punishments are linked to an increase in fear, resentment, shame, and more misbehavior in the future. Other studies show that is associated with increased aggression, antisocial behavior, mental health problems, and not improved behavior. That was something that all studies showed, that punishments do not lead to improved behavior. That's why the American Academy of Pediatrics says, do not punish your child, use positive parenting instead. And the reason for that is because when you are doing fear-based parenting, your child is not really learning why the behavior is wrong. They're only learning that when they do something you don't like, so it's not about the behavior itself, it's just about the fact that you don't like it, they will get into bigger trouble. So they will just get really good at hiding it from you. They will still do it because it's not that they find the behavior necessarily bad. They just know that you don't like it, and that if you find out they will be in trouble. So they will get really good at hiding it from you. Also, they will get very good at every time they are in trouble, instead of coming to you for help, they will have the opposite, thought process. They will think the worst thing that can happen is my parents finding out. So they might even get in worse trouble, which is the opposite of what you want. It often leads to a cycle of power struggles, because it's like this. You are bigger, stronger, have more power in your household, at least until your child becomes a teenager, right? So you are able to subdue your child. Your child will do what you want because, again, you are scarier, you are stronger, they are scared of you, right? That's the whole idea of fear-based parenting. But they are not dealing with their emotions. All that anger, that feeling of like, this was unfair, I didn't deserve this, all those things, they get bottled inside, right? So any little thing afterwards, the child will start being like, no, because the more you say, the more you go against your child, the more you are actually creating the power struggles, because your child will also feel like going like this to you, right? And then you will need to escalate. Okay. And very often also people do authoritarian parenting and do punishments. They have a hard time self-regulating. So they get angry and they let their emotions run the show. So when a child retaliates, they tend to really exaggerate. And that's why very often punishments then end up with spanking, because it just escalates, right? So there's a study, for instance, that shows that authoritarian parenting that is punishment-based leads to lower self-esteem and poor social competence in children also. Children end up rebelling, lying, or shutting down in the long run. They either bottle up and implode, or they explode. And other studies show that it interferes with emotional development because it increases emotional dysregulation. It bypasses the brain's learning centers, because to really change behavior, you need to do it through connection. All research shows that. That's why positive parenting is now recommended by all leading, authorities, because it is indeed what research shows that works. Because what happens with when you punish a child, you're not actually teaching them to deal with those emotions. So all challenging behavior comes from a lack of a skill. So your child lacks some skills. They have this, they want something, they have these feelings, they think these things, and they just, because their brain is underdeveloped, they just want to act on it. Their emotions are running the show. And you need to teach them what is the appropriate way to deal with that emotion. When I'm angry, I can jump up and down. I can take some deep breaths. I can, last case scenario, punch a pillow. What I cannot do is hit my brother, because, that hurts my brother. So if I don't learn that skill, if no one teaches me that, if the only thing that happens when I'm upset is that someone grounds me or spanks me or punishes me in any way, what I learn is, if I want to hit my brother, I have to do it in a way that mommy doesn't see it. You know what I mean? Then the other thing is, as I said, like studies show that the best way to get your child to cooperate is through connection. And I give you an example. Let's say, for instance, that you are having a fight with your husband. And, because, I don't know, you left the shoes in the entrance. If you say something like, I understand that when you come home, you have tons of things in your hands and, it's really hard for you to do anything because there's so much happening. And I completely understand why when you take off your shoes, they are in the entrance of the house. However, or not however, and that's how you talk in a positive way. And when I'm walking down the downstairs and the shoes are in my way, it really annoys me because I'm scared that I will trip over them because I end up having to put them by myself. And that really makes me feel very annoyed. And I know that you're not responsible for my emotions, but it would help me if you could put your shoes away. So maybe how could we do it in a way that, how can I help you in a way that you are able to put your shoes? Would you like me to meet you downstairs and help you put things away in the kitchen so that you don't feel so overwhelmed? This is a way that the other person is like, okay, I'm feeling seen. I feel like this person is really trying to help and is really trying to find a way that is good for both of us, not just blaming me. But if you just go and you're like, what the fuck? You left again your shoes. You left again your shoes in the entrance. This is so annoying. Why do you always do this? And use those words like always, never. That person will be very defensive. They will be like, well, you don't know how hard it is for me, and blah, 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 and I am tired, and this and that, and you also, no, and you just start a fight, and it just escalates. So if you really want to get someone on your side, if you want someone to be able to hear your perspective of things, you need to do it through connection. And children are just people. Children are people just like us. So if you want to correct your child's behavior, you need to connect first, right? Because only when your emotions are very high, when you're very, very upset at something, you will end up doing and saying things you regret. And the same is with children. If their emotions are very high, they will be defensive, they will be upset, they will not be listening. If you want them to listen so that you can correct the behavior, first you need to connect, you need to empathize, to show them that you understand their point of view, you understand why they want to have the chocolate. Even though you said no chocolate before lunch, but you understand they want the chocolate because it's really yummy. I love chocolate, right? So I can understand why you want chocolate. I sometimes also want really things and I don't eat them. I cannot eat them because I know that they are bad for me, but I really wish I could eat them because they look so yummy, right? So it's the same thing, you need to empathize with your child. Like, what you're feeling is normal. I also feel like that sometimes. And we cannot do that because if we put the chocolate inside your tummy, you won't have space for all the healthy things that your body needs to grow. Perhaps we can have the chocolate afterwards, But if you go and be like, no, you cannot have the chocolate, then you will have a meltdown. Of course. Yeah, hope this helped.